The first person I expected to see at the hotel lobby was my ex. The last person I expected to hear from was her younger sister. And the one thing I never imagined was standing beside that same sister, pretending to be her fiancé while an entire family celebrated around us, only to discover that the hotel had made a terrible mistake and booked us into a room with just one bed. Sometimes life doesn't knock before changing your future. Sometimes it quietly hands you a room key and dares you to open the door. Before we begin this unforgettable story, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to our channel, The Kindness Project. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories that remind us hope is never truly lost. My name is Rowan Mercer, and I thought I had buried every memory connected to my former relationship nearly 3 years earlier. My breakup with Serena had not been dramatic. There had been no betrayal, no shouting, and no grand ending. Life simply pulled us in different directions until loving each other was no longer enough. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the family that had treated me like one of their own. Her parents had welcomed me every Sunday, her grandmother never forgot my birthday, and her younger sister, Marin, had always looked at me like the older brother she never had. When everything ended, I disappeared completely because I believed it was kinder that way. Life slowly settled into predictable routines. I worked long hours restoring historic buildings, spent weekends volunteering in neighborhood renovation projects, and convinced myself that peace meant never looking back. Then one bright Saturday morning my phone rang with a number I no longer recognized. The voice on the other end belonged to Marin. She sounded embarrassed, nervous, and completely out of options. Her cousin's wedding was only days away, relatives from across the country were arriving, and after a painful breakup her own fiancé had disappeared without a word. She confessed that she had already told everyone she would still be bringing someone because she couldn't bear becoming the center of family gossip during the happiest weekend of someone else's life. She didn't ask because she thought I owed her anything. She asked because she remembered I had always shown kindness when people needed it most. Every sensible thought told me to decline. Returning meant facing Serena again, reopening old memories, and risking misunderstandings. But something about Marin's quiet honesty reminded me that compassion sometimes asks us to step into uncomfortable places. I agreed on one condition. We would tell no elaborate lies. We would simply act like two people who cared deeply for each other without inventing a lifetime that never happened. The wedding took place at a beautiful countryside hotel surrounded by golden fields, blooming gardens, and warm afternoon sunlight. Everything felt peaceful except my racing heart. Every hallway carried echoes of memories I thought had faded. Serena noticed me almost immediately. Surprise crossed her face before settling into a quiet smile that held no bitterness. We exchanged polite greetings, careful enough not to disturb the joy surrounding the celebration. Instead of awkward accusations or lingering resentment, there was only mutual respect between two people who had once shared dreams but had chosen different roads. Marin played her part naturally, yet I quickly realized she wasn't pretending confidence. She was frightened. Every relative asked questions about our future together. Every family photo reminded her that she had arrived carrying invisible heartbreak. Whenever anxiety overwhelmed her, I simply stayed close, helping conversations flow naturally and giving her space whenever she needed to breathe. For the first time, I understood that kindness wasn't about grand heroic moments. Sometimes it meant quietly protecting someone's dignity while nobody else even noticed. As evening settled over the countryside, music floated across the gardens while guests laughed beneath glowing lights. The celebration stretched late into the night before we finally walked toward the reception desk to collect our room keys. The cheerful receptionist apologized repeatedly after discovering a booking error. Every room in the hotel was full because another conference had unexpectedly extended its stay. Only one room remained available, and it contained a single king-sized bed. For several silent seconds neither of us knew what to say. Exhaustion eventually defeated embarrassment. We accepted the room, promising ourselves that respect would never become complicated simply because circumstances were unusual. Inside, the room overlooked rolling hills painted by moonlight. Marin immediately gathered extra blankets and insisted she could sleep comfortably in the oversized reading chair. I refused to let her sacrifice her comfort. After nearly 20 minutes of quietly arguing, we turned the mattress sideways, built a ridiculous wall of pillows between us, laughed harder than either of us had laughed in months, and finally fell asleep knowing trust was stronger than awkwardness. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains with unexpected warmth. For the first time since arriving, neither of us felt like actors performing a role. We shared breakfast, walked through the gardens before the farewell brunch, and spoke honestly about the disappointments life had handed us. Maren admitted she had spent years believing people only stayed when life was easy. Watching me return simply to help her had challenged everything she believed about loyalty. I admitted that avoiding the family after the breakup had been easier than accepting that love can end without either person becoming the villain. Later that afternoon, Serena quietly approached me while guests packed their cars. She thanked me for helping her sister through one of the hardest weekends of her life. She confessed she had worried the family would fall apart after everything changed between us, yet somehow seeing genuine kindness survive heartbreak gave everyone hope. There were no lingering feelings to reclaim and no impossible romance waiting to begin again. There was only gratitude between people who had finally made peace with the past. As I prepared to leave, Maren hugged me with tears filling her eyes. She whispered that I had arrived pretending to be someone she needed for 2 days, but I was leaving as someone her family would always consider part of their story. In that simple moment I realized kindness rarely changes yesterday. Instead, it quietly transforms tomorrow. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe to The Kindness Project, and tell us in the comments what moment moved you the most. Your support inspires us to keep sharing stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Sparkling Heart special request, comment below with the words, "Kindness always finds a way," if you believe one act of genuine kindness can change someone's life forever. As I drove away beneath the bright afternoon sun, I looked once in the rearview mirror at the hotel growing smaller behind me. I hadn't found my way back to an old relationship. I had found something even more valuable. I discovered that kindness doesn't always lead us where we expect. Sometimes it leads us somewhere better. It teaches us that second chances are not always about rekindling lost love. Sometimes they are about healing old wounds, restoring broken connections, and proving that even after goodbye, people can still choose compassion over pride. And perhaps that is the greatest love story of all, not one built on perfect romance, but one built on kindness that refuses to disappear, even when every reason says it should.